This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head, and truthfully, the only reason why I wanted to make this video was to make that the header, the title. It's just too clever to pass up. I'm sure somebody on Reddit has done it before, on X has done it before, but I've never seen it. And specifically, the reason why I made this video was to talk about what happened this past Monday on Raw, and it seemingly is what everybody is talking about. And you've got people completely divided down the middle, right down the middle, like a Bill Alfonso daddy. And it's pertaining to the segment with Iyo Sky, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. And what we witnessed there, and what subsequently we've been witnessing for the last 4 weeks, is a soap opera. It has been playing out as such. It is Kairi as the loving sister that's clinging tight to the dominating mother figure of Asuka, who has another daughter who is rebellious, and she is wanting to hang out with her rebellious friend that Asuka does not approve of and doesn't want her hanging out with that friend. It is essentially a tale told as old as time, and it is very romantic. And I don't mean that in a very sexual way or anything. I mean that in a platonic way. The relationship between Iyo and Rhea that has developed through the competitive sport of professional wrestling has brought them closer together, because Iyo has always gotten the best of Rhea, and Rhea knows that she's going to give her best so that she can beat Iyo, so they get better together. And Asuka and Kairi had a they were on a downswing for a minute. They were trending downward for so long, and that brought out a more frustrated and a more angry Asuka. And because of that, she is starting to exhibit that inner anger on her face paint and on her complete demeanor towards her friends, dominating Kairi with fear, pretending like Iyo is allowed in this special club only because she says so, right? You're only allowed because I say so, and you'll miss us when we're gone, and all this stuff, right? Playing the psychological mind games, which I believe could be a reflection of her inner turmoil and what she's dealing with. But I won't go that deep. I'm not here to go that deep. What I am here to do is to go on the speculation station, which stay tuned because I will go on speculation station, but it's to specifically talk about this segment in which Iyo was in tears and she was crying. Tears, okay, that may be a stretch, but you get what I'm saying. Her role in that scene was to cry, was to show her frustration, was to show that she didn't know which way to go. She was confused, right? She was confused, and she didn't know if she should go with Rhea because she loves Asuka and Kairi. Those are lifelong friends she has, but she's starting to forget the way they look. They're starting to look different to her. And Rhea is only being there as a friend and is only being honest because she can relate to what is going on with Iyo Sky to a degree because of what happened with her in Judgment Day, right? So this story is being played out, and what it is demanding from the superstars involved is a little much for professional wrestling, but it is ambitious. And, they have a lot of writers at the WWE, and I'm sure that for a while the writers were under the watchful eye of Vince McMahon. He was the eye of Sauron. So anytime they got a chance to write something that they thought would be fun and would give the wrestlers a challenge, but in a creative way, Vince probably put the kibosh on it. And I don't know what the creative process is right now with the WWE. Obviously, I'm not behind the scenes with them, but I can only imagine that at times, certain things that's pertaining to the product, certain writers get a chance to kind of flesh an idea out. Case in point, what we're looking at with Lyra and Bayley. Bayley is having a crisis, a personality conflict. She's having a split personality disorder, actually. And because of that, it is confusing Lyra, who they had, their issues basically about what Bayley was doing to interfere in Lyra's pursuit of beating Becky Lynch. And in Becky In Bayley trying to help Lyra, she did more harm than good. And that caused a lack of trust, paranoia from Lyra. And then Bayley went off because she felt guilt, and now is coming back and is completely conflicted and maybe having a bit of a midlife crisis on top of her split personality disorder, right? She is trying to confront and deal with the guilt from trying to be too much of a friend to Lyra, and also maybe feeling a little jealous about what maybe seeing a little bit of her younger self in Lyra, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. Both of those stories, I think, are really fun and probably fun for the wrestlers. However, there is a caveat here. I feel it's a little too much to ask for those wrestlers to come out and give Oscar-winning performances for these types of scenes. And what I'm seeing from social media is that a lot of people are like making fun of the fact that Iyo did what she did as far as crying and sobbing and, whining a little bit, But you got to understand, Iyo doesn't go to acting school. She's learning the English language. Same with Asuka, same with Kairi. I'm sure they can afford to get an acting coach, and I'm sure they're learning through the process of doing what they do in one take, mind you. I mean, they might have practiced it in an empty arena, a couple of reps here and there, a couple of takes, but Iyo did that in one take in front of 12,000 people or so, 10,000 people or so. Okay. That was stage work. That was a dramatic play. So whether or not you want to give that grade a D or a C, you gotta add a couple of points to that, or maybe a letter grade above, or maybe put a plus or a minus next to that letter for just the effort of her going out there and doing that in front of the crowd, not missing a beat, essentially never forgetting her words, staying on topic, and holding out until the very end, all the way through to getting missed over her entire body and being able to stick with that. You have got to give her props for at least doing that and not cracking under the pressure, not busting out laughing at the absurdity of it all. And at the heart of it all, professional wrestling is pretty absurd. If you go back and look at the Attitude Era, something that I grew up watching as a kid, Vince McMahon was super over the top. Mick Foley, super over the top. When he did This Is Your Life with The Rock, when he tricked The Rock into saying, "It doesn't matter what you think," and then he goes, yeah, and he runs around the ring, I was busting up laughing. It was absurd, right? There's a lot of moments that I can take from the Attitude Era, and I wish I could show you guys clips here on YouTube. I can't, because this video would get taken down. But give it a goog, man. Go goog it up. Give it a goog. Go goog WWF Attitude Era and watch their segments. It was all over the top. And if you think about it, and I'm going to go off the top of my head because I don't have a list here in front of me, there were a ton of absurdity, and in between the absurdity, very few well-acted moments. One that I can think of off the top of my head is probably Dustin Rhodes confronting Marlena, and they had a backstage segment, and they had like a little confrontation about their relationship. And Dustin Rhodes it looked real. And look up Dustin Rhodes or Goldust and Marlena backstage segment, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. They were in their regular clothes. Goldust was not in his gold paint or anything like that. He confronted Marlena about their relationship, and it felt real. And I know that it was playing off of real frustrations that they had as a real life couple. And it was almost a little uncomfortable to watch. But if you go back and you watch that scene, they drew from a real experience, and I personally felt like, I haven't talked to Dustin, I haven't talked to Marlena about this, but I personally felt there was some real in that scene, and we witnessed it, which made it even more uncomfortable, right? But their reactions, the way that they handled that scene was like something that you would see in a good movie or a good television show. That's rare in professional wrestling. Another one that I would like to bring up is Batista turning on Rey Mysterio Jr., a moment that I feel propelled Batista into an all-timer professional wrestler, in my opinion. The way that his facial expressions were, the way that he turned on a dime, he looked at Rey and he said, "Rey, I'm going to rip your head off." And the way that he said it with such conviction, and the way that his facial expression changed, and the way that Rey Mysterio Jr. reacted to it was phenomenal. One of my favorite Batista moments in professional wrestling and in WWE. Really good acted scene that both played off really well in front of a live audience in one take. And you got to remember that. These guys go out. It's one of the reasons why I love professional wrestling so much, is that these performers go out and they essentially do a one-take performance. Whether it was acted good, whether it was convincing or not, a lot of the times it can become campy, it could become a B movie, it could become cheesy, somewhat embarrassing. But the point of it is that they had the balls, the huevos, to go out there and do it in one take, and for the most part pull it off beat for beat what they were told to do. It's no different than a soap opera, which is why I called this topic The Young and the Wrestle-Less. Yes, that's a Vince Russo-ism or whatever. I'm sure, look, Vince Russo, I can't wait to find out what he says about that. I don't typically look for his reactions to things, but I feel like that scene comes straight out of a Russo-rific booking scene. Now, he's going to probably nitpick the performance, but I can see him writing something like that because it gives the fans, which I think Russo was really good at, gives the fans a story that they can sink their teeth into for better or worse, to get them emotionally invested. And I believe that the WWE Raw division, Raw Women's division, is doing a great job of giving us some character development and putting them in stories that can get us invested in where they evolve, how they progress, and what happens next. So in total, I just wanted to do this video to accentuate that point. This is basically an audio version of something that I would have put on Twitter, or that I would have put in the post comments on Instagram or on YouTube here on this channel. I would have wrote this thing all the way out. I could have done an article about this, but I decided to talk about this in audio format as a video on YouTube because I really want to hear what you guys think about professional wrestlers doing these types of storylines. Do you think it helps to get you emotionally invested in the characters? Do you think it's overall a good thing, or would you want this not so much in your professional wrestling? Do you want less of this in your professional wrestling? And I really look forward to your comments because I feel like I'm going to get varying responses here. I think some of you like wrestling this way, where there's story and there's a way to get emotionally invested in the characters because it brings out the best in them. We already know that Iyo Sky is probably the best professional wrestler in the WWE, bar none. Maybe, you know, men, women's, whatever. She is phenomenal in the ring. But if she's only a good wrestler, how far can she go in the WWE, in the pantheon of the best women wrestlers? You've got women like Mickie James, who went through character changes and progressions of her storyline. She was an obsessed fan. She was an obsessed lover. She was crazy. You know, she went through different iterations of her character. The same with The Rock. The Rock evolved as a character. He went from happy, smiley Flex Kavanaugh to the people's champion, to Hollywood Rock, to Final Boss, and everything in between. We saw a progression of character, and essentially it was the same Rock. He had just evolved a little bit. Chris Jericho is another great example. He has donned so many hats, for better or worse. I know some people like his character changes, some people didn't, but he's done so much evolution that there's a few that you can pick up. I mean, personally, I love the list of Jericho. I thought that was great. As a matter of fact, when they did that celebration, the friendship ceremony with Kevin Owens, I thought that was really well done. It was very similar to Rey Mysterio Jr. and Batista. You know, wait, my name's on that list. I mean, that's a great moment in professional wrestling history right there, and go look that up. Give that one a goog. I wish I could show you all. Maybe if I have time, I'll post the links of those segments down in the description box so that you can just click them in one click. You know what? I'll go ahead and do that. But I'm really interested to see what you guys think overall of that segment, and what type of professional wrestling do you like? Would you rather Iyo Sky just put banger after banger in the ring and have great matches, or do you want to see more of her fall into her character with these segments that she's doing? Because this was the first time I got to really see Iyo Sky do something different. And if she keeps this up, the repetition of doing stories like this can bring out a side of Iyo Sky we've never seen before, and get the audience behind her in a way that they've never got behind her. Look at what's going on with Dominic Mysterio. For years, the fans hated Dominic Mysterio. They hated him so much that they started to love to hate him, and now they just love him. Look at his response. Look at the reaction he got when he came out against Rusev. Granted, Rusev is a heel, or a fan, most hated, so by proxy they're going to just cheer for Dominic Mysterio in that regard, but the fans love Dominic Mysterio. Look at the reaction Dragon Lee got after they announced that Dragon Lee was going to wrestle Dominic at the next AAA event. So my point is, when you look at these wrestlers in the scope of the WWE, these types of storylines help you to increase your interest in what they're going to do next, and on top of the athleticism that they produce in the ring. So I'm ranting. Just wanted to let you guys know what I thought of that segment, what I think of the storyline in total and in the entire Raw women's division, because they're killing it right now. SmackDown should take some notes on that, in my opinion. So I just want to hear what you guys think. That's what I thought. Go ahead and leave it down in the commentary section below what you thought of that segment and what you think of these types of storylines. Until next time, you guys, I'm the Wrestling Old Head, and as always, stay tuned for more. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free.